Greetings everyone. Welcome to Top Tier Tips, your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up in Dead or Alive 5. Alright, last week we kind of topped off the little pressure series where we finished off with going over taking a look at Okazemi. So this week we're going to be looking at a rather large and important aspect of Dead or Alive that I feel gets a little underappreciated and overlooked, which is environmental influence in Dead or Alive 5, including last round. Alright, so let's let you know that one of the greatest joys that players of Dead or Alive 5 get is the visceral pleasure of blasting each other's sorry asses through walls, off buildings, and into electrified walls that can explode, launching the unfortunate victim sky high. The way how the environment interacts in DOA is one of the primary distinctive features of the series that separates it from other fighting games, which either have zero environmental interaction or have done so rather poorly. Hell, we're still mind blown by how well the stages and environment were conceived in DOA as far back as DOA 2. In DOA 5, environmental interaction is taken to new heights with special danger zones, breakable walls and floors, ceiling hits, slippery surfaces, uneven surfaces, and breakable objects that can contribute to DOA's own unique flair of environmental combos. In DOA 5, the environment is king, and paying attention to it can be very much mean the difference between a resounding victory or a crushing defeat. Literally. Alright, so at round one fight, which is also known, abbreviated to R1F, is the situational position where both fighters are at when a fight starts out. So basically, when you get that get ready fight at the start of a round, the distance that you're at is considered just round one fight. So like about here, this distance for instance. Alright, unique feature to Dead or Alive, to Dead or Alive system included in DOA 5 last round is the capability to maneuver right at the beginning of a round to set yourself up in a more favorable position than your opponent. This is with respect to the environment, of course. Basically, your goal at round one fight is to put yourself in a more advantageous position than your opponent from the get-go, which is achieved by positioning yourself like away from danger and trying to position your opponent with their back to a wall, edge, or most favorable, a danger zone. Alright, depending on your character's strengths, you may want to stay up close and personal at round one fight if you specialize in close range combat. Such as with like Christy here, she has a really good close range tools and speed, so she'd like to stay close. I mean, other characters can include like Kasumi or Genfu, or you may want to keep your distance a bit if your character specializes in ranged combat, such as with Ayane or like Lisa, for instance, and other ranged characters like Nao Tengu. Generally, the faster rushdown characters will want to stay in close, and zone-in spacing characters will want to maintain their space. Slower characters will also pretty much be on the defensive at round one fight. I mean, like if you're using like a super heavyweight with like Bass or like Leon, for instance. I mean, you're basically at round one fight, especially if the opponent is in your face, you're gonna have to be on the defensive, meaning that you're gonna have to block or take some sort of defensive action, like you can like attempt a sidestep, like a crush move, but like you get the idea. Whatever action you're going to take is going to be defensive if you're a character that is generally is slower and has a less optimal neutral in close range. So during a match, you always want to be taking note of where your character and your opponent's character are positioned with regard to the various stage hazards. I mean, environmental position is incredibly important in DOA 5 last round, and is a very commonly deciding factor in all kinds of matches. A lot of time, the more successful fighter is simply the one who utilizes the environment more effectively, instead of the person with the better combos. I mean, like, Like on this stage here, Scramble, this stage, the environment is actually pretty important with her. Of course, the biggest things to note is these danger zones on this side, which I'm surprised I didn't set up. These different danger zones here, which can well, they end up changing the elevation of the stage, so it ends up changing how you interact with things. Like for instance, this here has a large, gigantic slope, which will just it will affect your juggles. But yeah, I mean, this stage Scramble is fairly large when it comes to showing different kind of environmental influences. And if I'm not mistaken, there's even an area, if you knock the opponent into a wall here, where it ends up dropping, it can actually end up dropping garbage on their head, which can lead to like a special follow-up. Alright, but the big thing on this stage, of course, is there's a cliffhanger at this side, which will take you down below. For a cliffhanger, there's just a option between doing going for a throw or going for a strike. So if you get where the opponent has to defend against each by either pressing block or pressing the throw button to break either a strike attempt or a throw attempt. If the striker is successful, then they'll get a attack. If the defender is successful, then they'll end up they won't receive damage. But if they break a throw attempt, then the aggressor will end up receiving damage. Well, let me see if I can just kind of like show you like a little example. Because I know there's an area in this stage where you can get it like where it's supposed to, yes, if you knock the opponents to one of these, it ends up dropping garbage, which will, like a lot of people who are fairly new to this game will think it's random, but it's actually a trigger. Quite a bit of stages, such as the Halloween Lorelei, also has special sections on the top floor where if you knock the opponent into a certain wall or post, it will drop a pumpkin on their head, which will allow for follow-ups. Same with like on the Zack Island beach stages, it has those kind of things. See if I can just show you it one more time. Yeah, see, it drops more and it allows you to keep up pressure, or if their opponent's still stunned, you can actually get off you can continue a juggle, for instance. Alright, I mean, with Scramble only gets a slope after you trigger the... Scramble, for instance, only gets a slope after you trigger the special danger zone. Alright, see right here, this is a kind of transition phase where you can actually get higher than usual launch heights, which can lead to some crazy ass juggles if you end up exploring a little bit. But yeah, but as you saw here earlier, this is a bit more of an extreme example of a slope, but this one's just kind of fixed based on if you end up triggering it from the danger zone. So what happens if you end up fighting near the top of the slope, you end up getting a bit more of a advantages, and you can get well, you can get bigger juggles. Whereas if you end up having to fight uphill, then you won't be able to get as big juggles. But anyway, I'll show you a stage that kind of specializes with slopes a little bit. Examples of stages does include the desert, but a common one is the forest stage. Alright, so I mean that's another thing also to pay attention to for the stage that you're playing on. I mean, the first thing to note is not any special features, but here I'm going to be focusing now on uneven surfaces. The biggest aspect, as you can probably get a bit of a guess about uneven surfaces and slopes, is that they affect how your juggles pan out. Generally, you want to be the person on the top of the slope, like the king of the hill that you are, whereas the opponent on the bottom, on the descending part of the slope, will end up being the dirty-ass peasant. As you could guess, the person on the top can perform potential extensions to their juggles compared to the person trying to fight uphill who won't be able to have as much, who won't be able to get as damage and juggles because of the slope. All right, so I mean, if you are fighting uphill, you will have to cut your juggles short to compensate for that. So I mean, I showed you like a little bit earlier on the scramble stage that, yeah, if you're fighting near the top of the slope, it is easier to get to higher damage and juggles, but because in the fourth stage, generally the slope tends to end up going, well, basically it ends up going, well, in the position that I'm facing right now, it would be behind where Ione is. So this would end up being and it's trees to watch out for also. Oh, what the? Oh yeah, it's another attribute to watch out for if you're performing juggles that cause a higher launch, is that sometimes for your follow-up, the opponent might launch so high that the follow-up might not end up connected, meaning that you may have to time your juggle a little differently. You may see the early part of this juggle it ends up connecting when I end up going towards the walled side, which is the uphill. But if I end up going this way, I have to kind of delay it a little bit. Then you can end up getting the full juggle. Ah, come on. Yeah, you see, as you are going uphill, you will have to kind of change your juggles and have to try and compensate for the fact that you are going uphill, meaning that your general kind of combo enders may not end up connecting properly. So. But of course, especially with like lighter weights, like normally Christie's middleweight, so generally you don't usually have to worry so much when you're launching them about your follow-up not connecting because of them launching so high. But as you're going downhill, that is something to watch out for. But but while you are playing on stages with a lot of slopes such as forest or the desert, kind of mindful of where the slope is. But under most circumstances, being near the upper part of a slope is a lot more beneficial, so you want to try and stay up there. Alright, so another thing I just want to look at now are slippery surface, which tend to be most common within the ends of the Earth stage or the Sanctuary stage. With the ends of the Earth stage, or that kind of that snowy stage by Antarctica, every single part of that stage is a slippery surface. Alright, in the forest here, there's a small slippery surface which is caused by water. Alright, what it does is that if a low connects on counter hit, it causes a big trip stun. What this trip stun does is it allows you to guarantee a relatively fast launcher, like a 16-frame launcher like Ione's 4 P+K. I mean, this is exclusive to. This is just exclusive to like slippery surfaces. Like on a normal surface, it doesn't quite get the same stun. It looks similar, but on water, it causes an extra large strip stun. It's called a slip stun. So this is most common because since a majority of a big chunk of the Sanctuary stage is water. So for there, what happens is that lows that trip or stun on counter hit just become very dangerous. Like even just a normal 2K can cause a trip stun. So you do have to watch out for those kind of things when you're playing with stages that have water or ice. Like with Ends of the Earth, it's you get to pay attention to it for the entire stage, but for like Sanctuary or even here with Forest or other stages that have water on them, you do have to be mindful of this because it does make lows incredibly dangerous. Alright, now moving along. Alright, in the stages such as the home stage or the Temple of the Dragon stage, you may notice many seemingly arbitrary objects thrown about. These objects don't just serve as scenery. They are objects waiting to be pummeled by the unfortunate individual on the receiving end of some powerful blow. Like right there. Alright, if you're the one that has blasted your opponent into a breakable object, the opponent will be put into a debilitating sit-down stun state, which will give you a window to connect a guaranteed follow-up. I mean, like, if you just knock him into like anything here that's breaking, you can do a little small juggle, for instance. Alright, if you do get him in that sit-down stun, we recommend a launcher for maximum pain to your opponent. Beware that the space between you and your crippled opponent in the sit-down state dictate how large the window is for a follow-up. If the breakable object is far away and you use some sort of like Death Fist, I mean, such as like Hitomi's like kind of infamous blast back move, or for Ayane, her 236K here. What happens is that, see how far Christie is right now? This will mean that I would have to run up in order to get a follow-up. So meaning that the amount of frame advantage that I would get from the sit-down stun may not be enough to guarantee the follow-up, meaning that the opponent might be able to hold as they recover from the stun. So in this case, what you can do is just kind of like enforce a mix-up instead and just like go for a throw of some sort. So basically what you do is just kind of treat it as like a frame advantage situation where you can like enforce a mix-up on your opponent. But another thing also, when you do a knock an opponent into a breakable, what happens is any walls around where the juggle is being performed, like the wall directly behind the opponent, becomes what's considered an invisible wall. Meaning that you won't be able to get a wall slam at the end of your juggle. However, invisible walls can actually be used to your advantage at times and can lead to relatively more potentially dangerous juggles due to the lack of space that the opponent can be pushed back into. Think of like corner combos in 2D fighters where the unfortunate victim is kind of trapped in a corner while the assailant is kind of just going to town on them with a big-ass juggle that connects more easily simply because of how close the opponent is to the aggressor. Although also because of this, you also can't chain breakable object hits because that would be, quite frankly, make the home stage broken. So I'll just kind of show you just right here. So right here, there's no wall slam. But if I just were to do like pretty much the same kind of juggle here, see, without the unbreakable, you end up getting the wall slam. See right there, thanks to the extra space that I have, I was able to get a bigger juggle there because of the fact that there was no wall slam. I was able to get subsequent hits on that. So I mean although you don't get the wall slam, you can take advantage of that for some unique invisible wall juggles. Alright, so let me just show you another stage now. Yeah, I mean it's like the stages in DOA8 itself has their own personality to them, so it's like you have individual stage. Because in a lot of other games, it's like every stage is like the same thing, so there's like no uniqueness to each stage besides this being a pretty backdrop. But in Dead or Alive 5, including last round, each stage is considerably unique, so there's lots of different attributes. Alright, a stage that tends to have a lot of these kind of attributes, aside from the aforementioned scramble stage I showed you at the beginning, is the hot zone stage. Has a lot of little kind of like tidbits to it. Alright, one of the big ones is the explosive barrel danger zone, which allows you to get like a bounce juggle off of right there. You might have to fish around a bit over here. There's a small wall that you can knock the opponent over. Yeah, you can get a subsequent hit. It doesn't have to be the mid punch that I did. You can jump over to a mid punch, mid kick, and also in the side where you came from, there's a tank danger zone here. It can allow for a follow up, even though I didn't get the full time in there. And there's an explosive wall here, which can allow you don't get much of a juggle there, but you can allow for like a force tech pressure setup. I mean, the opponent can tech roll after that, but you are at frame advantage, so usually after that small corner danger zone there, you can go for a little hit. So, I mean, lots of little things here to go after. Even with the crash helicopter here is technically a danger zone, so you get additional damage by doing that. I remember in a previous session I said if you knock someone into a danger zone, such as an explosive or electric wall, you would end up getting 15 points of damage from the wall slam alone, as opposed to just 10. So let me see if it shows right here. Yeah, see right there, 15. If you look under damage, it's 15 damage from just the wall slam alone. And for 55 total damage from the cannon drill kick I just did right there. Yeah, but with like Hot Zone though, I mean, a lot of people love to play around with this stage and just see like what kind of like different things you can get on it. That won't connect. But yeah, I mean, and also just for a note for this corner here, which you might not have seen. See if I can get a better angle. This corner here, you actually have to hit them twice in order to knock them over. The first time knocks off the kind of, I don't know, shield, barricade, or whatever it is, the barbed wire. Then the second one knocks them over. Then you can do a punch or kick attack after. Alright, another stage that tends to have kind of a... Well, I'll show you a stage right now that has a unique kind of element to it. It is one of the circus stages called... Well, actually, I'll show both of them quickly, since both the show and Tiger Show have uniqueness to them. But I'll show like the show. I'll just show it quickly here, how it, like one of the special attributes of it. All right, for this stage, what there is that the major common danger zone for this one are these two corner walls here. What it is that when you knock an opponent into the wall, it triggers it. When you hit him a second time, it knocks off the danger zone. Alright, so generally what you want to do is do a is just do a straight up wall slam. Just do a straight up wall slam, then you want to hit them again, then you'll blast them over. And then you get the full juggle. Alright, the Tiger Show has a similar kind of attribute to it. Except for... Well, what I'm gonna... Except for there's a lot more there's more danger zones to this one. Alright, the main one I want to show you is the unique attribute are the two walled signs there. If you end up knocking your opponent into the sign, it ends up causing a trigger, which ends up starting the timer, and as you saw in the background there behind Ayane, it triggers the tiger to move. You see, the tigers are now still moving on the timer. See, it's indicated over there by it would be indicated if you could see on the floor. Oh, you can see right there in the behind Ayane again. If you see on the floor, there's a red line which indicates there the tiger will go. Alright, here you can see the next one right here. You see, after a certain amount of time the tiger goes, and if you were to either knock your opponent into it or unfortunately get hit by it, it will cause you to get launched. See right there, you see if you're not paying attention to your surroundings, you can get hit by it. A lot of people, when they get hit by tigers, they think it's just some random bullshit, but no, this shit is triggered, so you have to pay attention to that. Alright, once the tigers have gone through pretty much all the routes, you'll see there's 2 of them with 4 potential pens. You'll have to kind of take note of where they are. If you were to actually blast your opponent into them, you can get a bounce juggle off it. So if you want to trigger the tigers, you have to hit the showtime sign. Then it starts the timer. You can hear the announcer saying it also. You get a bit of a sign when you see the fire ring go up. So what you need to do is avoid that area and try and get your opponent to go into that area. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty dynamic stage, but yeah, I mean, if people aren't careful or aren't paying attention, you can get kind of knocked around for some rather hilarious results. But yeah, but that stage though, I mean, a lot of the tigers, people tend to go, what the hell, when they get hit by it, but yeah, that's but yeah, that's just a unique trait of itself. Where is it? Oh, I want to show. So we're gonna be going back now. I just want to show you another element of DOA5, which can go a little overlooked at times, but is pretty major. Is in stages such as Home, or now I'm going to show you Temple of Dragon. These stages have sealants to them. Alright, what a sealant does is it allows you to get a potential combo follow-up, because it puts the opponent into a sit-down stun state where they pretty much cannot hold throughout the animation, allowing for a guaranteed follow-up, for instance. Like characters that have launcher throws, such as Kasumi's 236T or Genfu's 236T, and I think Hayabusa also has a launcher throw. I think his half circle forward throw. So I mean, if your character has a launcher throw that has the ability to hit the sealant, then this throw becomes very useful in sealant stages. I mean, there aren't really necessarily that many, but some examples are Temple of the Dragon, Home, and the second floor of Fuel has a sealant also. So I mean, characters I mean, Genfu's already pretty damn dangerous in Dead or Alive 5 last round, but in under a sealant stage, he and Hayabusa can become really destructive. Hell, I mean Kasumi's is pretty Kasumi's throw is actually pretty dangerous itself. I mean, Like that's just a small juggle there, and it's like, I think, like, yeah, 91. That's 91 damage from just that, and it's all guaranteed because of the sit down stun. Like, this also set up from Kasumi. This is about 60, I think 65 damage. It's guaranteed because it's a chain into sit down stuns where the follow-ups are fast enough to not be like completely staggerable. But you kind of get the idea, though. I mean, like, well, number one, taking advantage of sealants is a very good idea, and number two, that being able to chain sit down stuns also is a good way to try and well, number one, it can make the opponent panic a little, and it's a good way to try and get as much damage as you can, because generally the only way to get out of it would be to try and stagger escape on the fastest speed. And even then, some setups can be guaranteed even on fastest stagger escape. In that case, the opponent has no choice but to go for a ride. Another thing also to show you also about seal-in throws, or basically any sort of like seal-in hit that leaves the opponent in front of you. Oh, I forgot. You can get power blow off it. So this is all complete. This is all complete guaranteed damage right here. And you can knock him into another breakable. So right there off that's 128 damage guaranteed just off a throw. I think also you can use your power launcher off it, but I generally don't really use power launchers that much. Oh shoot. Yeah, you can use your power launcher, but I don't really use power launchers that much. And as you can see, they also cause a seal-in hit. Well, if you charge it enough. Yeah, but so with us kind of seal-in setups, you can get a little creative with them. What you want to do though is pay attention to any sort of the sit-down stuns. For instance, off of a seal-in throw. Let's see how much. So you get about you get plus 70 from that. So that means that the opponent can't take an action for 70 frames. All they can do is try and stagger escape before they can attempt to try and hold or block your follow-up. So obviously, if you just simply do a follow-up that is much faster than plus 70, it will be guaranteed. So, and if you end up chaining that with, say, if you end up chaining that with a move that causes another sit-down stun, then you can get another guaranteed follow-up. So, yeah, I mean, kind of chaining. I mean, using sealants and chaining sit-downs is always a good idea. Another thing also is for these stages, you also want to be careful of characters that have holds that can cause seal-in hits. Like for instance, Kasumi's mid-kick hold can seal-in hit. Or say her expert seal-in hold can seal-in hit. Of course you can also floor breaks here, but so basically against Kasumi you want to be a bit careful using mid kicks against her. Never been a big fan of those floor breaks. Just mess things up even more. So I mean, as you can see, that the kind of juggles you get off of like special holds that hit a seal and end up becoming different. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's usually some of the most dangerous combos you can get are off of seal and hits along with danger zone. So if your character benefits from the seal-in, try and keep your character as long as you can. If your character does not benefit from the seal-in as well, what you want to do is not find a window and either knock their ass out or get your ass knocked out the window. Alright, so lastly, just for seal-in hits, what I want to show is some characters like Momoji and Hayabusa can have special kind of like a air combo grab or strike grab that can end up hitting the ceiling, and you can end up getting an increased damage throw by. I don't know if I can get it right. Oh, I'm messing up. You can get an increased combo grab just by doing it, by hitting them off the ceiling. And just to kind of top things off, so let's go now, go back to my main ladies. Alright, so for maximum flare in DOA5, we have just the thing for you. Special danger zones. These rare danger zones are triggered only by way of power blow and blasting your opponent directly into them. Our personal favorite special danger zone is the one in the show stage that consists of blasting your opponent into a giant clown face, which then spews the opponent back out and splats him into a piece of the set really high in the air. Pretty sweet, huh? So let's take a look at that. So if you can manage to set up a power blow in these kind of stages that have it, you can get a lot of additional damage. Look at that right there. This is just from a raw power blow. There, 130 damage, just a raw power blow. So if you're like were to do it at the end of a juggle, or after like a critical burst, you get a tremendous amount of damage. Alright, let's see what that does on, just for shits and giggles, let's see what that does on high counter. Oh, it does the same. Alright, so the power blow is not affected by it, but if I were to do a juggle though, yeah, that's a tremendous amount of damage here from one juggle. But of course, setting up a critical burst combo off of a high counter hit is, yeah, it's not really that common, since you only get high counter by either striking someone's throw attempt or hitting them out of the air. But yeah, I mean, utilizing these special danger zones gets you really great damage, but it's also really swag too. All right, I'll show you the one in hot zone. Yeah, I know I was in this stage earlier, but this is just want to show you the special danger zone now. All right, let me see if it's available. So it might need a trigger before it's available, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it's always available. All right, you see, it ends up just wrecking shit everywhere, but alright, where it's located is by the sandbags that you could knock the opponent over. That's where the helicopter will appear right as you get one. Then you can get a guaranteed follow-up right after there. So pretty neat. There are some other ones on stages, such as the bottom floor of Scramble has a pretty neat one, and I know if you end up getting the second stage of the depth stage, Alpha 152 stage, there is an object that comes down. There's another one I think on Sanctuary. There's actually a bunch of these, but it would be better if I go over the kind of attributes of them maybe in a later session. So anyways, I'll just end it right here, and thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and subscribe and leave a comment below to just let me know how things are going, or for any sort of a feedback. And just want to thank you for checking me out today. And if it's your first time viewing, be sure to check out previous sessions, because I'm just gonna keep adding on and all that. So That's it for now, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.